What's going on, everybody? This is Fandom Empire, and this is our first exclusive Dark Match Drive video. We have a Dark Match Drive podcast coming up here very, very soon. But in the meantime, there's way too much going on with this CM Punk AEW, Hangman, Adam Page, Jon Moxley, and whoever else right now with the company. So we got to dive into that. And joining us is the man, myth, legend behind Dark Match Drive. It's Jer. What's going on, man? Oh,
guess a lot today. Oh, there we go. A lot's going on today, it seems. I mean, last night we had the promo and everything kind of, was slowly coming out about, hey, Punk wasn't supposed to mention Hangman. And then today it's just, let's just blow the doors off of everything that's been going on backstage for the past, 3 months almost, because this essentially started back in May and nobody really knew about it. I mean, Meltzer alluded to everything, but I mean, everything is coming out today. So it's a busy day for behind the scenes news in AEW.
So let's recap briefly here. Last week, CM Punk returns, and I suppose you could say he saves the Blackpool Combat Club, who were outnumbered by the Jericho Appreciation Society. He comes in, does his thing. Him and Moxley have a stare down. Moxley gives him the finger. He celebrates with the crowd. Seems like, okay, awesome, cool. You're probably the two of the three biggest North American stars in the company, more than likely, that are the biggest draws right now. And then whatever the hell that was last night happened. It was entertaining, but it was there was like this just weird awkwardness after Punk did the Hangman thing for a few seconds, and then just fill us in. What the hell is going on, man? Because there's a lot of hearsay out there right now, and there's a lot of people that want to be like 10 on the panic scale, and then there's people that are 0, and I feel like I'm probably like a 3 or a 4, if I'm being honest. But where are you?
Yeah, I'm probably about a 4 or a 5 right now. So this all started with the Hangman promo to Punk, where apparently it wasn't the Colt Cabana reference that did this.
I thought it was the Bret Hart reference.
It was Hangman saying he was going to protect AEW from CM Punk. Apparently that was the line that set off Punk. There was words backstage. Actually, this just came out not long ago. Where's my link here? Right here. Okay. So this was just reported not long ago. There's been issues with Punk and Hangman for months. They stem from that promo that Page needed to protect AEW from Punk. After the promo, there was a blow up between the two backstage. Punk felt Hangman had gone in business for himself, going as far as to say that he would never do a job for Adam Page. This all led to a closed-door meeting between Tony Khan, Punk, and Page. The situation was apparently not a work whatsoever, and Punk obviously hadn't had the opportunity to have a mic in front of him since then, because they had the pay-per-view, then Punk got hurt, and he was off TV. He wasn't going to call out Hangman for his, farewell promo, obviously. So this was the first chance Punk had to really retaliate from that promo. And so it ends up that, and it was reported back then that, okay, there's something brewing here, but there was never any details about it. There was just something, it's more real than it seems between the two, and it was left at that. And so then it came out. So where is it here? Okay, so yeah, so Hangman was backstage on Wednesday night and was, sitting in catering, obviously, according to a picture by John Silver.
I saw that.
And yeah, and Punk makes note to mention him, calling him out almost, and just knowing that Hangman is not scheduled for this promo whatsoever. It's going to be Moxley and Punk to build to whatever is going on there. And so Punk decides to call out Hangman as a receipt for what Hangman said previously. And this is just locker room speculation. This is not Punk saying to people backstage, I did that on purpose, or I called them out for this reason and whatnot. So some of this is still, he said, she said. And apparently sources familiar to this situation claim Punk has verbally expressed displeasure with things in the company, and they thought, now keyword thought, he might end up quitting the company. Those close to him said he may have almost decided to stay home from coming to Dynamite last night. But I mean, again, it's he said, she said. I don't think, and Punk's the kind of guy, like, if he's upset about something, he would probably be very vocal about it. I don't think he would be very subtle if he's pissed off about things, and he wouldn't. I don't think the situation is to a point where he's going to stay home. We've seen what it takes for him to stay home, and he's not on the Z-Packs yet. So now apparently the match being booked for next week was a late decision. We haven't figured out how late the decision was made. We don't know if it was because, Punk going into business for himself in the promo. Is it because we had spoken earlier and I had alluded to the fact that AEW has almost started treating television as their main income source, which it's going to be. It might already be based on the TV contracts, but they want to look at television as their main income. So they want to put pay-per-view matches on TV to get the ratings, to make the networks happy, and, everybody's happy, So, I mean, that leaves why book the match. It's either because they want it on TV, or something happened with Punk in that promo or backstage where they're going to do a switch immediately, and, Punk can be mad about it at home. And I don't know if we haven't really seen Tony Khan react to talent kind of doing this sort of thing yet. So there's no track record as far as what Tony Khan would do as a reaction to all this, because obviously as a booker, he would not be happy with, hey, Punk, what the hell are you doing calling out Hangman? That was not the segment. Is he going to punish Punk? Is it just water under the bridge? I mean, Hangman is kind of, left out of this whole thing because he can't do anything. He's busy with, the Bucks and Omega and what they're doing. So he can't really come out and say, oh yeah, Punk, well, this and this and this. And it sucks for Hangman, but we'll find out Wednesday as far as the booking of that match, whether it's punishment, whether it's TV, whether, I think we'll get a lot of answers that we don't have as to why the match was booked. And then the finish of the match will obviously tell us what the future holds for, Moxley, Punk, Hangman, where they're going based on this situation.
So I got a bunch of questions. You can tell me what you think, and we'll go from there. Keeping in mind, those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, by the way, click that like button. Helps everybody else find the video. Check out the Dark Match Drive on Facebook. Sign up for the drive as well. Jer will tell you about that at the end of the video. And you can support the channel on Patreon, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. Okay, so here's my thing. The Fightful Select stuff, I actually like Fightful. I'm not like a huge wrestling guy, but obviously since AEW started up, I've been trying to follow. I didn't follow so much when there wasn't a crowd, though. I'll admit that. So I'm not super knowledgeable in terms of what's going on behind the scenes or whatever, but I do want to point this out. If Punk was going to no-show last night, and I said this to you privately, why the hell would he have not no-showed the week before? Because if this was happening months before now, then this was happening last week too. And to be honest, I don't believe unless something, not yesterday, but unless something happened the fall or the prior week, I don't see why yesterday would have been any different whatsoever in terms of like backstage. Obviously, once he makes those comments, that's different. But to that point, it doesn't seem like the situation was all that bad prior to Punk making those comments and him making the comments. Like, does he not get a little bit? I'm biased. I'm a Punk fan, but like, that's your guy, right? Does he not get a little bit of wiggle room?
I think yes, to an extent, but I think Hangman is also in that same air. So it's kind of testy waters where Hangman could obviously get away with. And I mean, that's the weird thing. Hangman's promo within the context of a wrestling promo was perfectly fine. It gave further context to the match that they were trying to sell for the pay-per-view. You know, I personally was more invested after that point because it portrayed Punk as this bad guy, this force that was coming in to ruin AEW. Mm-hmm. Okay, it put a bit of heat on the angle. Obviously, nobody believes that Punk is, this bad thing for AEW. So fast forward, 3 months, and I don't see. I'm on the fence. I would like to think that Punk didn't just hold on to that for 3 months, and then the second he got the opportunity, he did it. But if he's going to no-show, he obviously would have no-showed the whole thing because you knew immediately the second you saw Punk, they were going to pair him with Moxley. They knew that the second Moxley won the belt. That was the plan, right?
If you're punishing him next week by by having him drop the title and then going home for a while, like I totally believe Punk would just be like, yeah, I'm not coming. Have fun.
Yeah. From Punk's perspective, if he's going to go into business for himself with the promo, then why bother? I mean, well, here's the thing. Punk obviously does not respect Hangman for the situation that went down. He made that very obvious with his promo and the reaction to the promo back in May. The thing with Moxley, though, I think Punk wouldn't no-show for Moxley. If he was booked with Hangman, he would probably say, "Screw it, I don't want to deal with this. This is clown shoes." I think if
we'll have to drop it and leave.
Well, exactly. That's the thing. If it's with Moxley, he's gonna obviously. I mean, the promo we saw was phenomenal between Moxley and Punk. Outside of Punk doing his thing. So I think Punk knows that there's value in Punk versus Moxley. Moxley, he probably believes Moxley wouldn't go into business for himself. They've known each other for 10 years. Punk is the reason Moxley got into the Shield in the first place. So they have a much longer relationship with each other. And I think Punk likes working with Moxley. And it's probably going to be a fantastic match next week. But I don't know how much truth there is to the whole Punk. I think framing it is important. To say it that Punk not wanting to be there or Punk threatening to leave. I think within the context of that, like, he's not going to do it to screw with a Moxley match. So I think he was mad enough to say it. Like, oh, I'll just go home. And then, once he's working with Moxley, then it kind of flips the switch and he's like, okay, I got my shot in on Hangman. I'm happy now.
So he's threatened to go home.
I think they specifically say one veteran said they've heard of threats being levied. So I have a feeling Punk probably said in the argument with Hangman and Khan something along the lines of, well, I'm just not going to come back. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I can see that being very plausible. But this whole comeback, it doesn't feel like Punk probably just wanted to get his shot in at Hangman. He's happy, and now he can move past it. That was probably his thinking. But he opened into that whole nother can of worms with getting his shot back at Hangman. So he, by it ending for Punk, it opened it up for everybody else.
So we have this match that's going to happen on Wednesday. You're going to unify the titles. I just, maybe I'm in denial. I have a hard time believing that match happens and then Punk leaves for a while. Even with Moxley there, I don't know. As a guy who can be bitter from time to time, I don't know if that's I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, obviously it does from a wrestling perspective, but and then there's All Out. Like, say what you want about pay-per-view buys, but like, you can't very well do this match now and then do it again at All Out unless your finish is going to be a squash.
Well, yeah, I think this is definitely a one and done, which is really weird because they could absolutely sell this pay-per-view on this match. It's in Chicago. Punk's obvious. Well, ideally, Punk wasn't going to wrestle till the pay-per-view. We don't know if he's 100. Apparently, he's 100% if he's working next week. But I don't think, like, it's just so weird that they would. Something had to have happened, I'm thinking, for them to have pushed this match ahead. I don't think they would have. It feels too easy from a booking perspective to have your main event set, a month out for the pay-per-view. They don't need to do anything. They've already got Moxley versus Punk set. The second Punk returned, you knew that there's your all-out main event right there. They don't need to do anything else, really. Because the story is them unifying the titles. Obviously, they're cutting promos and adding more meat on the bone, but the fact that they're pushing it to the August 24th episode of Dynamite, it feels like I don't think they had a backup plan booked, but now something changed and they got to get this program over with, essentially, because I don't think they've never done a rematch for the title ever, other than Adam Cole was the one exception. Adam Cole got 2 title matches,
but double DQ.
I don't know if AEW would do that. That's what I'm like. If this was WWE, 100% we're getting a screwed up finish and they'll push it to the pay-per-view. But AEW doesn't really do screwy finishes. I saw a statistic probably a couple months ago, but not that long ago.
They had a lot of draws.
Yes, but like they have not, as far as TV goes for Rampage and Dynamite, up to when the statistics ended, AEW had done 1 disqualification finish in Dynamite and Rampage history. So it just feels like it would almost feel like a cop-out in a way if they're going to do this match. And they're obviously going to promote the hell out of the match because it's one of the biggest matches in AEW history.
I mean, name-wise, I don't know if there's a bigger one.
Exactly, right? For what AEW is now, I don't know if there's a bigger match. And I don't know what they're going to do with it because obviously it's not the pay-per-view main event. It doesn't make sense for them to do it this close to the pay-per-view, do a screwy finish, and then do it again. It goes against AEW's booking, everything that they've shown so far with their booking. They would not do this. And so
then pitch to me, like, we could do a whole other video on what the all out main event's going to be, but like, that's the one thing that kind of has me going, oh man, is Punk really done here? Is he, I don't believe it, but like at the same time, it's like, okay, so you don't do rematches. I suppose this could be the one instance you do, but like you're giving away not just any pay-per-view main event, you're giving away probably your biggest named pay-per-view main event for free on TBS.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then you got to come up with another main event in 2 weeks. If it's not a rematch and it's not a like, do you call an audible and go, okay, well, instead of being in the Dark Order's corner, maybe Hangman goes out and squashes the ending of that match and we get a triple threat match at All Out. I don't know, but like,
Yeah, like, and that's the thing with, like, okay, let's say Punk is being punished and you put Moxley over. Moxley's been going through guys left and right on the roster. I mean, there's not a lot of fresh guys that he could face for the title. I mean, Hangman, obviously, that would be a fantastic match. But, Moxley, for the better part of the past, 2 months now, has been beating guys left and right, literally almost every week.
did you hear where next week's AEW is?
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yes, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did that play a factor in Tony Khan wanting to book the match next week? Maybe, because if Moxley was going over anyways, why not, if he's mad at Punk, let's say, put Moxley over in his hometown and send Punk home for a little while.
So here's the other thing about Tony Khan specific. Like, he might be pissy, but in terms of like benching Punk, I'm just not buying it. And here's why. If you go back and watch the MJF stuff after he gets dominated by Wardlow, like in terms of like how much did their social media cover that, it's almost non-existent. And their social media is specifically covering even the Hangman stuff. The AEW on TV account, which is a verified AEW Twitter account, literally has that as a thing. And it's like, I get it. Controversy creates cash, Eric Bischoff saying, but at the same time, it's like, is there a chance that we're being worked a little here too?
There is absolutely a chance of that. 100%. I would personally love it if Hangman, Punk, Khan, and Moxley got together backstage and decided, let's work this entire angle as a shoot and get everybody all worked up asking questions. Because I think the rating for tomorrow, or for next week, the rating is going to be, they'll crack 1 million, which they haven't done in at least a couple of weeks. I know they did 954 last night.
Yeah, with Danielson, Punk, everyone knew it was coming back. That's a little worrisome, but
I mean, yeah, but like, I think that's kind of they've almost leveled out at like 950 right now, which is weird, but because, I mean, they were hitting like 1.1s, I want to say last December. So I think they've reached their comfortable level where they're at,
Give me your best guess, your prediction. What happens on Wednesday and what that means for All Out. So predict the outcome Wednesday and what the main event is for All Out.
Oh.
And Punk is still hurt.
Yeah.
Did this match just end up being, they have it set up to just be a brawl?
Yeah, I think if Punk is still hurt, they'll find ways to hide it in the match. Like, they'll, screw around on the floor and, do smoke and mirrors bullshit. But honestly, I'm on the fence because see, here's the thing. Neither guy has any other avenue right now. Moxley's was always heading to Punk, so everything with Moxley was short term to get us to Punk. No matter if it was now or 2 months from now, that was the end goal. We knew Moxley wasn't going to drop the belt till Punk. And Punk hasn't done anything with anyone but Moxley since winning the belt. He had the 6-man once where he got hurt and disappeared. So there's no other off ramp for these guys to go for. Hey, they've got, a backup angle that they shot 2 months ago that can, they can interject into, TV on the 31st, let's say, to build heat for the main event. So I'm completely stumped as far as where they can go with this. I mean, you could do Moxley and Hangman. Hangman is, I think I saw Hangman's technically the number one contender to the title right now. I'm not sure how. Has he won a match on TV recently? Has he been on? Has he wrestled? I mean, he's kind of been swept under the rug, like doing backstage segments and whatnot, but he's not been in the ring that much that I've seen.
So for me, I thought before they announced the match that, especially with how the promo went, that Punk is going full heel. I still think if he's not going home for a bit, given how that all played out and the cards you're dealt sort of thing, I think that's the right move to send him heel. I will also say this. Conveniently, Punk just said like 2 weeks ago, it'd be too easy to go heel. Being face is harder, so he wants to stay face. So why not then go and do the opposite? Because, well, he seems to do that. So
he's not wrong either. Being a babyface and making yourself likable is 10 million times harder than being a heel, because you can just go insult the sports team. I mean, it's cheap heat, but it works. Mm-hmm. So he's not wrong about that. And I mean, yes, there's the unspoken idea of MJF showing up.
That's where I was going. That I thought this was. I was in the camp of, I know people are going, well, Punk MJF match, but I've been Punk MJF heel alliance.
Well, that's the only backup I can think of right now is, hey, let's get MJF in there. They don't need that much promotional material. They've got it in the can already for MJF and Punk for the title. But the problem with that is it almost throws away the idea of MJF. Why would he get a title match? They would have 1 week to give a reason for MJF to get a title shot.
I mean, they did just go over that thing with, what was it, Jade Cargill, who gave the new person a title shot just because she did a challenger sort of thing. So that seems like a cop-out to me personally.
Yeah. Like, I would love to see it. I just wish they wouldn't give us 2 weeks to get to it, Like, I would love to see MJF get, weave in and out and kind of antagonize his way into a title shot. It doesn't feel like 2 weeks is enough to piss off Punk and or Tony Khan to get the main event of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, him getting screwed could lead to, I mean, I don't want to say Punk taking time off, but this is kind of feeling like Bret Hart leaving after WrestleMania 12. So,
yeah.
Where he takes his, I know he was doing other things and getting healthy, but it is the hardest thing to predict. Like,
Punk going to go shoot Lonesome Dove?
I don't think that's going to make the HBO Discovery app. So
I'm sure he can do another episode of Anne of Green Gables or whatever iteration we got of that going on.
If money was on the line, I would say there's absolutely, this is kind of vague, but there's no way there's a clean finish on Wednesday at all, period. Somehow someone's getting screwed.
Well, this is too big to do a clean finish and just leave it alone like it's done.
Yeah.
Give us something, even if they don't go back to it at the pay-per-view, that's fine. I'm sure there's other avenues they can create to get to a pay-per-view main event. But
in 2 weeks, though, 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. So
will it be 2 weeks after the match is over or 1 week? 2. It'll be 2 still. 2 more.
Like a week and a half. So, I mean, I think there's enough for Moxley and Punk to have an actual story told over months and months. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's what we're going to get right now, because somebody is leaving August 24th with the belts, and I don't know what that holds for them for All Out, for the future, where Punk's going to be, if he's going to be champion, if Moxley gets a rightful second reign, which is a story in and of itself, because Jericho kind of mentioned that was the whole point of Jericho's promo a couple of weeks back. Jericho wanting to be the second AEW champion because the interim hangs over Moxley right now. So they've got a lot of loose ends that they can work with, but this just feels so out of left field, and I don't know where they're going to go with it.
Yeah, it's really hard to narrow down and predict. My final one would be the pay-per-view ends up with either, like, if Punk's not sitting at home, I think it ends up with either a rematch or a triple threat match. I don't know how you can do anything else. Like, even, like, to me, if you're MJF returning, that's a ratings cow. You can't do that in a week and a half, in my opinion. Not proper.
Yeah. No, they can't hotshot an MJF return and hope to pop a buy rate off of MJF coming back for 2 weeks after purposely sticking to this angle so much that they have completely scrubbed him from existence.
The only thing I'm sure of is if CM Punk is still with the company after that pay-per-view, is I firmly believe he's a heel. And when you look at the company's big heels right now, who?
I mean, Jericho. That's
who gets cheered half the time too. So, I mean,
yeah,
we'll have the same thing, obviously, but like,
yeah. I mean, what Jay Lethal? Like,
there's no big heel presence right now, like at all. Kenny Omega's not going to get booed.
Well, I think they've got something with Don Callis still sticking around, so that might lead to something in the long run. But yeah, Kenny and the Bucks are obviously baby faces, even though they've got, Don Callis hanging around like a snake in the grass. But yeah, I don't think there's really like a top heel. I mean, Adam Cole did his run, so he's not going to get, a main event title shot anytime soon.
You got to admit that a Punk MJ, I know Johnny, who's on our channel, doesn't like the stable warfare after a while, but like, you got to admit a heel stable with Punk and MJF constantly just hating and annoying people would definitely get some heat.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I think Punk and MJF, and that would be a logical follow-up, because
eventually MJF turns on him and becomes the guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they go back to immediately Punk versus MJF, it doesn't. We just saw that 6 months ago, and I don't think they need to hit, rewind on that. Do something fresh if they're going to bring MJF back. And that's another thing. Like, the reason why we're talking about MJF coming back is because we don't know where they're going with this. And there's no...
There was the pinnacle reference that was intense. To me, it felt very intentionally drawn.
Yeah. It just feels like everything's been tied up between these two with nothing outside of it. So they have to do something to interject something different this week to therefore get them to the pay-per-view. Whether it's MJF or, a screwy finish or a guy we don't know that's going to get thrown in the title mix.
I mean, AEW does crazy-ass matches, and I don't think this stable's going to come to be. I threw it the other day that Punk leading what was the Pinnacle makes some sense to me. I mean, I don't necessarily think they'll get boos all the time, but
yeah,
heel could still be their drive. But like, Tony Khan loves his crazy ass, let's kill people matches. Give me the blood and guts match that just happened, but let's do a 3-team version of blood and guts where you got Punk and MJF, the Jericho Appreciation Society, and Blackpool Combat Club. I know there's more to wrestling than stables. Some people would hate that, but I would enjoy it.
Yeah, and well, another thing I'm excited for the pay-per-view is I think we're getting Jericho and Danielson. which is something they've just planted 3 weeks before the pay-per-view, which I'm totally okay with. But it does feel like, especially with the main event being so up in the air, like I couldn't tell you what direction they're going for the pay-per-view.
And
I mean, they don't have to worry about ticket sales. They're fine as far as that goes. I think last I saw there was only like 3,000 or 4,000 tickets left, and that was weeks ago. So,
what venue are they at?
Are they doing
came back in?
United Center or the Now Arena? I'm
not sure.
It is at the Now Arena in Chicago, which holds around 10,000. I believe that's for hockey. Oh, basketball. Okay, so 10,000 for basketball, and then they would center stage concerts. Okay, so 11,218 would be around what that building holds.
Yeah, they're doing okay then.
Yeah, they'll be fine. I think that's the same venue as last year, because I don't think they booked the United Center again. They booked it for Punk's return.
And that was it. Yeah.
But yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, as long as he stays with the company, then I'm happy. But who knows?
He's an asset as long as he's not a headache. So yeah. We'll see.
True. That's true. And I don't even know if there's any like big splash free agents they could go get that show up at the end of the show to be like, oh, hey, here it is again. This is what we're doing at All Out. Other than Bray Wyatt, who doesn't seem to sign anywhere. So
yeah, he's off in purgatory doing his own thing. I don't think there's really anyone new that could really come in, because WWE is signing up all the guys they've let go recently, or at least Triple H's guys.
Yeah.
And they haven't cut anybody of note recently. I mean, well, okay, they've as far as today goes, they've started letting go the NXT UK roster somewhat, because they're branching out to NXT Europe next year, and they'll probably re-sign a bunch of the guys anyways, but they just want to give it a fresh coat of paint, and so branch over whatever UK guys they want to the actual NXT brand, as we saw at Heatwave this past week. So
well, I think that's going to do it for this first video. Lots happening. Hopefully cooler heads prevail. Hopefully there's even a work going on. But the one thing that I think we both can agree on is neither one of us have any fucking clue what the main event to All Out is going to be. Dude, why don't you tell everybody about the Dark Match Drive and where they can sign up?
All right. You can find me on Facebook, Dark Match Drive. We post news, memes, updates, all sorts of content on the Facebook page. It's a good time. We just cracked 100 members this past week, so I'm excited about that, considering the amount of work I put into the thing. I also have a Google Drive for all the wrestling content you could ever want. I've got hundreds of Mid-South matches from the 80s, Memphis matches, all sorts of stuff, shoot interviews, all the wrestling content you could ever want. $10 a month. Hit me up on Facebook, the Dark Match Drive, if you want more details on that. We have a Discord channel for we all get in there and talk about AEW as it's on air, and it's a good time for the wrestling community, I think. And so come check it out. It's a good place.
Awesome. So be on the lookout for that, everybody. And check us out on Patreon if you want to support the channel on that level, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. And check out the Dark Match Drive podcast coming right here to the channel. Probably in time for a review of All Out. Who knows what the hell that card's going to look like, though.
Yeah, well, it's really up in the air. I don't know what's going on with Punk. We'll find out more this Wednesday, and we might find out even more at All Out if he's still around.
Oh God, it's got a pit in my stomach. I mean, they did just have Game of Thrones sponsor their show, and who kills off characters more than Game of Thrones? Nobody. Anyways, that's going to do it for the Dark Match Drive. Thanks, Jer, for doing this, and stay tuned for more wrestling content on the channel. Be sure to comment down below What do you think's going on with Punk? What did you make of the promo? What do you think happens Wednesday night at the unification match? And what do you think the all-out main event is going to look like? Comment down below. We would love to hear your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next video.